Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a disassembly video for you of this little guy. This is the Spyderco Slysz Bowie. I've talked about the Bowie a lot. It's a knife so nice I bought it twice, and there's a whole lot of good here. So it's about time that I actually do your disassembly video for you here. This is not going to be terribly dirty, really, at all, because I just cleaned it out and disassembled it not too long ago and tried a different oil that I wanted to work with. And today I'd like to do the disassembly and switch it back to the nano oil to see whether there's really a difference in the action. So first step is going to be to unscrew the backspacer screws over here. There we go. This guy does not need to be unscrewed unless you are switching the side of the clip. Same thing on the other side. This just goes into this one slice of titanium here. So no major concerns there. Leave the backspacer screws out. And then this, by the way, well, let me pull my driver here. Perfect. Alrighty. So that was a T6, I believe. Yeah, T6, and this is a T8 driver. Now everything has disassembled itself rather nicely. A lot of spring tension from the lock bar here. And let's try and pull everything the rest of the way apart here. Nice tight tolerances mean everything works nicely. Alrighty, here we go. Perfect. So in terms of cleanup, there's not a lot to be done here, so I'm not going to go too deep into that aspect of it. Just put a little bit of booze on a paper towel, as always. And I'll clean off the parts that need some cleaning off. There we go. Pop off my washer. Clean the washer. Get any vestiges of the other lubrication off of there. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and pop off the pivot screw there. Pop off the washer. There we go. Wash off this little guy here. Everything good to go like that. While I'm in here, let me point out some landmarks of the knife itself here, once this is done. All right. And just make sure that the pivot itself is cleaned out. This is a surprisingly simple knife, in that this is just a chunk of titanium. It's nicely milled, but there's not a whole lot going on here. All you've got is the area for the washer to sit, and you can see the area of wear going on there. You've got a hole for your stop pin, which lives, no, that's up here. And on the other side, you've got a G10 backspacer. You've got your lock bar. Got a little bit of carbonization on the lock bar, which is how this knife doesn't have any lock stick, unlike, say, the Nirvana or the K2. And then you've got your blade, and you've got a nice little blade here. Nice detent. Everything looks pretty good. There's no detent ball ramp. There's none of that particularly. But the knife is simple, and it's excellent in its simplicity. So that's really all that's here. Another thing to point out, though, is that, let's see if I can get one of these guys out of there. These are actually screw holders, so it's not screwing, it's not screwing into the G10. The screws are going through into the other side, which is a beautiful thing. And, yeah, so that's really the disassembly. Let's go ahead and start putting it back together here. Using 10-weight nano oil here. And just spreading a little bit onto the pivot itself. You can see here that the pivot itself is D-shaped, that there is a cutout on the side of it there, which fits a cutout on this side of the scale, but not on the other side. So it's pretty apparent which side the pivot needs to go into. It also means that the pivot will not free rotate, and that you only need one Torx wrench to assemble the knife, which is kind of a beautiful thing. Done. And you can also see here that I've done a little polishing of the edge of the washers on this guy. But that's nice. So I go ahead, I set the washer down, and then I rotate the washer in place to spread the lubrication around. Put 2 dots of lube on there. Beautiful. At this point, I put a little tiny bit of lubrication onto the blade itself and onto the detent hole. And just kind of spread that around along here. This knife is super smooth. One thing that's a little surprising about this knife actually is the size of the washers. The washers are not very big. One might expect them to be a little bit bigger, if you look at, say, the Sabenzas and whatnot. But that's partly because, as you can see here, there's not a lot of room between the washer and the lock bar here. So if they used a bigger washer, they'd have to either make it asymmetrical. Like if you look at Chris Reeve, the washers are actually, there's kind of a cutout for the lock bar in the washers itself. Or they'd have to do some other fancy footwork there. Either way, it works just fine. The knife is well supported, which is really the role of the washer, and problem solved. So what I'm going to do is lower the lock bar in order to get the stop pin in there. There we go. Now we're back in, and we're quite nearly back together now. Trying to think if I'm skipping any steps here, but no, I don't really think I am. So grab a little bit of Loctite here. Beautiful. Slide the pivot screw onto here. Apply the Loctite to the pivot screw. Throw the pivot screw across the room. That's a key step in any knife disassembly. Do not listen to the neck. I'm just going to get that tightened down a little bit here. Then usually I'll want to do the handle screws. Little dab of Loctite and go to the far end here. Tighten that down. Beautiful. Good idea to not completely tighten everything down until all of them are in. That way you can be sure of your alignment. On a knife like this with really good tolerances, it shouldn't matter. Everything should be positioned nicely by virtue of having only one or two in there, but still. So now that I got that tightened in, tighten that in. Tighten that in. Beautiful. Now I just got to dial in the tension for the pivot. This may be my quickest disassemble and maintain ever. It's the joy of a simple knife. So there we go. Let's tighten down. Now, let's see here. It's plenty smooth. Work the pivot back and forth a little bit here just to get everything. Actually, I feel like I can loosen this up very slightly. Oh, yeah. Absolutely zero blade play, back and forth. Pops open like a freaking dream. Oh, yeah. Hot damn. There you go. It's a Slysz Bowie. Really nice knife to disassemble, to maintain. Even though, oh, hey, I didn't mention this earlier, but hope you're not following along at home, because disassembling the knife voids the warranty. Yeah, but that's okay. This is a knife that's so well designed that it's really easy to disassemble, and you're probably not going to have any issue with it. Unlike some other Spydercos, PM2 comes to mind. Not that it's poorly designed, but it's just not really made to be taken down that often. This guy's easy enough that it's no problem. But anyways, Slysz Bowie, hell of a knife. Hope you enjoyed this video, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.